This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
January thaw. Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast. Yeah, our next weather maker is wet, not white, as warmer air invades the region. Meteorologist Adam Klotz.
Today, 56 in Kansas City, mid-40s in Chicago, close to 60 in Denver as we're moving through January. Yeah, that is in fact warm, and there's going to be some record-breaking highs.
All that warmth is headed our way later this week. Some of us will be tickling 50 degrees by Friday. Gunfire erupted last night near the presidential palace in Caracas, Venezuela. Security forces there fired on an unidentified drone. No U.S. forces were involved. All of this was happening as key members of Congress were being briefed on the military mission to capture Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said after that briefing,
"This briefing, while very extensive and long, posed far more questions than it ever answered."
But House Speaker Mike Johnson walked away satisfied.
The president used his authority under the law. He did so in a way that caused no casualties on the American side and got the job done with exquisite intelligence and extreme precision that can only be done by the U.S.
Former Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was sworn in yesterday as the country's new leader. She condemned the military action to bring down Maduro and called him a hero who's being held hostage. Attorney General Pam Bondi says hero is not the word she would use to describe Nicolas Maduro.
This monster released countless defendants, prisons, insane asylums into our country. It's not just about drugs.
At the UN yesterday, U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz reiterated that we are not at war with Venezuela.
We are not occupying a country. This was a law enforcement operation.
The deposed dictator made his first court appearance on Monday in New York City. We get more on that from Sarah Lee Kessler.
A defiant Maduro professed his innocence, claiming he'd been captured and kidnapped and that he's still president of Venezuela. He's charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, and weapons counts, and told the judge through an interpreter, "I'm innocent. I'm not guilty. I'm a decent man." Maduro's wife, Celia Flores, and adult son also pleaded not guilty. They'll be back in court March 17th. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
Meantime, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado says the arrest of Nicolas Maduro will help her homeland become an American ally.
Which means that 30 million Venezuelans are now closer to freedom, but also that the United States of America is a safer country.
Machado plans to return to Venezuela soon to assist in the dismantling of the criminal structures of the Maduro government. As she put it, she was the winner of last year's Nobel Peace Prize. Today marks 5 years since the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. USA! USA! It was January 6, 2021, when a large crowd of protesters overwhelmed police and swarmed the Capitol building as lawmakers were certifying the results of the 2020 presidential election. Congressional Democrats are observing that anniversary today. CBS's Scott McFarland.
With Congress under Republican control, there are no public ceremonies or memorials on the House or Senate floor or in the rotunda honoring the 140-plus police officers injured January 6, 2021. House Democrats are having a public meeting with testimony from some of the witnesses and some of the victims of January 6th. Meanwhile, some of the pardoned rioters are marching to the Capitol midday. They say it'll be a peaceful memorial march.
A former Proud Boys leader says the group will retrace the 2021 route from the White House ellipse to the Capitol complex in honor of Ashley Babbitt, who was killed by police during the breach. Fraud fallout in Minnesota has forced the governor, Tim Walz, to abandon abandon his re-election bid.
A fall from grace for the once Democratic vice presidential nominee and two-term governor, plagued by Minnesota's Somali fraud scandal and billions of stolen dollars. Governor Tim Walz bowing out of his re-election bid, pointing to what he calls political gamesmanship from Republicans that would make it harder to win.
So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
That in a massive fraud scandal that whistleblowers have alleged the Walz administration knew was happening for years, yet did very little to stop. Minnesota Republican rep and House Majority Whip Tom Emmer saying of the governor, good riddance.
That's Fox's Jeff Manasso in Minneapolis. The CDC is reducing the number of vaccines that it recommends for children from headquarters in Atlanta. Here's reporter Sabrina Cupid.
When it comes to recommendations for vaccination against RSV, meningococcal disease, hepatitis B, and hepatitis A, those are recommended for high-risk individuals. When it comes to flu, COVID-19, and rotavirus vaccinations, that'll be left up to parents and doctors to decide.
The updated child vaccination schedule now resembles that of Denmark, which recommends all children get vaccines for 11 diseases rather than 18. The head of the American College of Physicians, Dr. Jason Goldman, not a fan of the move.
I suspect this is going to have generational impact on the children and health of our country, because we are going to see a resurgence of diseases that we haven't had to deal with.
Senior Trump officials argue the changes are meant to restore trust in public health. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is no more. It's dissolved after a loss of federal funding. For nearly 60 years, it's funded educational programs like Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and Frontline. Congress cut funding last year after President Trump claimed liberal bias. Still to come on the Noon Report, the New York legislative session starts up tomorrow. We'll have some tips on how to safely remove snow from your roof. And Wegmans is under the gun for its use of facial recognition technology.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. We have some rain in the forecast. Tracking it right now on radar. Forecasted totals are up in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. All that snow and ice the past few days in lake effect areas of New York and Pennsylvania will be melting fast, and that poses problems for your roof. Ice dams can form from melted snow and cause water damage in your home. It's often the result of poor insulation and ventilation in your attic. Mike Graham runs a roofing company in Baldwinsville, New York.
With the snow that we've been getting, especially lately, you're running the risk at a collapse. I mean, we've had that heavy, wet rain too, and people don't understand that that's very, very heavy on top of that snow.
Graham tells CNY Central that anyone with 2 feet or more of snow on the roof needs to get it off as soon as possible. He recommends using a roof rake. You should never climb on top of your roof to remove the snow. Instead, call a professional. New York's 2026 legislative session starts tomorrow. Lawmakers are gearing up for a busy 6-month schedule. Republican Assembly Minority Leader Will Barclay.
I am excited. I guess it's always sort of like going back to school, I equate it to, and there's a lot of optimism in the air. And I think we understand there's some huge issues that have to be addressed in Albany. So I'm optimistic that we can tackle those issues and make lives better for all New Yorkers.
Barclay says making New York more affordable is the top concern of lawmakers.
Anything you have to buy, whether it's housing, food, energy, electricity in New York, it's much higher than the national average. So I'd like to see working in a collaborative manner with my Democratic colleagues and the governor to try to tackle some of these issues.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul will deliver her 4th State of the State address next Tuesday in Albany. Yesterday, she unveiled a key component of that speech, protecting kids online. It's called the Safe for Kids Act, and it would expand age verification requirements and disable certain AI-generated chatbots.
We'll have first in the nation age assurance standards under our Safe for Kids Act. We're going to require social media companies and messaging and gaming companies to automatically default to those privacy settings at the highest levels for anyone under the age of 18.
The governor unveiling the details of the Safe for Kids Act at Hamburg High School in Western New York yesterday, where she was a member of the graduating class of 1976. New legislation in New York requires schools teach students about the January 6th, 2021 attack on our Capitol. The Senate bill's currently in the Education Committee. It's sponsored by Democrat John Liu. That legislation would amend education law to include instruction about January 6th as part of the state's required courses on civics. Liu says the goal here is to help students understand what happened that day. Health officials are warning flu is strong all over this country. New York and Pennsylvania have some of the highest infection rates anywhere in America. More on that from Family Life's Brian Query.
New data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released Monday shows flu activity is now considered high in Pennsylvania and very high in New York, part of a nationwide spike seen over the holiday period, where positive flu tests jumped 33% nationwide. The surge is being driven by a new influenza A strain. The CDC says flu activity is still increasing and the season has likely not peaked yet. Health experts stress it's not too late to get a flu shot, with flu season typically peaking in February. Brian Query, Family Life News.
Thank you, Brian. A third person has died following that explosion at a Bucks County, Pennsylvania nursing home. The 66-year-old woman passed away this week from injuries sustained in the December 23rd blast near Philadelphia. Authorities believe that explosion was caused by a natural gas leak. 20 others were hurt. 4 of the injured have filed a lawsuit against the nursing home. Use it or lose it. That's the message from New York leaders regarding funding from Albany for road repairs. Senate Minority Leader Rob Ortt says local cities and towns are not using the funds like they should, and that means money meant for asphalt issues could be on the chopping block. Ortt adds that municipalities will get more bang for their buck if they spend the road improvement money now. The sooner the better, they say. The focus of the Fix-It funding, says Ortt, is so-called state tourism routes. These are roads that out-of-towners often traverse to visit some of New York's top tourism destinations.
This is the time of year where they get beat up. But when the tourists show up, they don't want to hear it was a bad winter in May or in June or in July. They just expect these roads and these routes to look good. And we want them to look good, because that's very often the first impression, maybe the last impression that someone has as they're traveling our communities, whether it's Lockport to see the locks, whether it's Niagara Falls to see the falls, or anywhere in between.
Ortt says nearly $34 million in state road repair assistance is available for cities and towns in his district, the 62nd Senate District, which includes all of Niagara and Orleans counties, as well as the towns of Sweden and Ogden in Monroe County. Violent incident yesterday at a Franklin County, Pennsylvania middle school left one student injured and another facing attempted murder charges. Chambersburg police say a juvenile attacked a fellow student with a knife just before the start of the school day. It happened on the first day back from winter break. The injured student's in stable condition. The knife-wielding attacker was detained by a school resource officer. Questions are swirling about Rochester, New York-based grocery giant Wegmans and its use of facial recognition technology at stores. Jonathan Weissman is a cybersecurity expert at the Rochester Institute of Technology.
It's always been out there, but now with privacy concerns at an all-time high, we're more concerned.
Wegmans' use of biometrics is coming to light after the surveillance was used at the company's store in Brooklyn recently.
Biometrics is great today for authentication, proving that somebody is who they claim they are.
Weissman tells WHAM 13, despite the upside of biometrics, there's always a risk of hacks and data breaches.
If your password is stolen, you can change it. If your credit card is stolen, you can get a new one. If your biometric data is stolen, You can't change your face and you can't change your hand.
Wegman says the data collected is only used to identify folks who've been previously flagged by law enforcement and may pose a risk to customers or employees. For security reasons, Wegmans is declining to say whether biometrics is being used at any of its grocery stores in the Family Life listening area. Sports is next. It's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, last May, the Knicks eliminated the Pistons in the playoffs. Last night, New York was in Detroit to face the Pistons for the first time since that playoff game. And Detroit got their revenge in a big way. Cade Cunningham, 29 points, 13 boards. He led the Pistons' drubbing of the Knicks, 121-90. Jalen Brunson scored 25 for the New Yorkers, but nobody else stepped up. The Knicks have now lost 4 straight. In Philadelphia, Joel Embiid got whistled for goaltending on a Bruce Brown layup with 5 seconds left in overtime. And Tyrese Maxey missed a winning floater at the horn. The Nuggets edged Philadelphia 125-124. Embiid had 32 points. Maxey finished with 28. Elsewhere, the Celtics downed the Bulls 115-101. Toronto took out Atlanta 118-100. The Rockets won by a tray, 100-97 over the Suns. Charlotte blasted the Thunder 124-97. The Jazz fell to Portland 137-117. And the Clippers edged the Warriors 103-102. On the ice, the Rangers fell in overtime to Utah 3-2. Alexis Lafreniere and Vincent Trocheck scored for the Blue Shirts, who have now lost 4 of their last 5. In Washington, Justin Sourdif recorded his first hat trick and chipped in with 2 assists as the Caps skated past the Ducks 7-4. The Red Wings 5-3 winners over the Senators. The Kraken had no trouble with Calgary 5-1. And the Wild doubled up Los Angeles 4-2. To football, the Cardinals, Raiders, Browns, and Falcons all looking for new head coaches. Yeah, they just canned their current coaches. That is a look at sports.
All right, thank you very much, Randy. And still to come on the Noon Report, 5 years since J6, promoting life in Pennsylvania, and January thaw on the way.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. On January the 3rd, after months of strikes on Venezuelan boats allegedly carrying drugs into the United States, and talks of regime change from the Trump administration, a U.S. military operation captured dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife. They were flown to the U.S., where Maduro faces trial for narco-terrorism and for leading, and I quote, a corrupt, illegitimate government that for decades has leveraged government power to protect and promote illegal activity, including drug trafficking, end quote. The common reaction from world leaders was to accuse the U.S. of breaking international law, while also being careful not to defend Maduro. A common reaction from Venezuelans around the world, including some of the 8 million who have left that country since 2017, is celebration that this dictator who oversaw the ruin of their country has now been ousted. Venezuela sits on one of the world's largest oil reserves with an estimated 302 billion barrels. That's 10% more than Saudi Arabia and significantly more than the U.S., which has about 43 billion barrels. But today, the nation sits on the edge of economic collapse. Now, at least part of the problem is that Venezuela became a petrostate, a nation with so much profit-making petroleum, they felt no need to diversify their economy and instead became dependent only on oil. Petrostates are highly susceptible to market swings and disruptions in the supply chain. But more importantly, the governments of petrostates tend to ignore its citizens. 1999, after time in jail for a failed military coup, Hugo Chavez was elected president of Venezuela. He promised liberation, earned the praise of left-leaning people in Hollywood and elsewhere. His rhetoric, however, never lined up with reality. Rather than improve the lot of the people, his policies made things way worse. Like most dictators, Chavez lived comfortably even as his nation struggled, and the situation only grew worse under his successor, Nicolas Maduro. Last year, when results pointed to an almost 70% win for his opponents, Maduro wrote off the election and violently cracked down on protesters. In response, Venezuelans have voted with their feet. As a CBS story put it, nearly 8 million Venezuelans, about 20% of the population, have fled the country in the last decade. Now, there's many problems that every nation has to solve. How they define such problems and the solutions is all about worldview. Specifically, are people valuable? Or are they merely entities to serve the state? Are human beings mere consumers of resources? And is the world of resources itself limited? If so, the resources have to be carefully controlled by someone in power and then distributed according to some evaluation of need and warrant and value. And typically, in such calculations, those who are in power get way more than everyone else. And when there's not enough to go around, the overall need has to be reduced. That happens either by reducing what citizens are entitled to or by reducing the number of citizens. In contrast, successful nations recognize and encourage the most important natural resource of all, human ingenuity. Citizens are thought of as producers and consumers. Through human effort and human ingenuity, the available resources can be grown and expanded. Government's more effective when it encourages such growth. Whether this dramatic American intervention will make things better for Venezuelans in the long run remains to be seen. What's certain is that the Venezuelans deserve better than what they've had. All people do, because people are not merely resource-consuming animals. They're image-bearing creatives tasked by God to fill and to form and to farm, to be fruitful and to multiply. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint. Today's Breakpoint was co-authored with Dr. Timothy Paget. To download and share this commentary with others, go to colsoncenter.org/radio.
All right, thank you very much, John. Let's head outside. The always busy Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life forecast. Our call for this afternoon, cloudy, with rain overspreading a good part of the area, starting as sleet in spots. High temps, mid-30s to the mid-40s. Off and on rain tonight, flipping to some wet snow late, low temps 30s. Tomorrow, cloudy. A bit of morning snow or some drizzle. High temps 30s to low 40s. Some sunshine on Thursday, relatively mild. High temperatures Thursday in the 40s.
All right, thank you, Kevin. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. Glad you're with us today. I'm your host, Bob Price. Lots to get to Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. Congressional Democrats marking 5 years since the attack on the U.S. Capitol. It was January 6, 2021, when massive crowds of demonstrators attacked the Capitol while lawmakers were certifying the 2020 election results. Over 1,500 people were convicted of crimes connected to that day. All received clemency from President Trump on his first day back in the White House. That was January of 2025. Gunfire erupted last night near the presidential palace in Caracas, Venezuela. NBC's Haley Jackson.
Witnesses saying security forces fired at unidentified drones. Two White House officials telling NBC News the U.S. was not involved. The tension in Caracas coming with Venezuela's now captured leader 2,000 miles away in New York.
Top congressional lawmakers were briefed last night about the military mission to remove from power the Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro. Here's House Speaker Mike Johnson.
We are not at war. We do not have U.S. armed forces in Venezuela, and we are not occupying that country.
But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer walked away from that briefing with more questions than answers.
Their plan for the U.S. running Venezuela is vague, based on wishful thinking, and unsatisfying.
Representatives from petroleum giants like Chevron, ConocoPhillips, and ExxonMobil will be meeting with the Trump administration this week to discuss their role in a post-Maduro Venezuela. On Monday, the country's Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, a Maduro ally, was sworn in as the country's new leader. The Trump White House is dropping the number of vaccines it recommends for kids. It's a move that some medical experts fear will undermine protections against a half-dozen diseases. The overhaul to the federal childhood vaccination schedule will take effect immediately. Efforts are underway to upgrade the nation's air traffic control system. Here's reporter Cammie McCormick.
The administration has picked two companies to replace more than 600 radar systems nationwide. They date back to the 1980s. The FAA has been spending most of its $3 billion equipment budget just maintaining that old system that still relies on floppy disks in some places. Spare parts are sometimes found on eBay. The administration's goal is to complete the overhaul by the end of 2028, near the conclusion of President Trump's current term.
Cammie McCormick in Washington. This is the Noon Report on Family Life.
ministering to pregnant women in Pennsylvania's coal country region. Welcome back to another edition of Hometown Heroes on Family Life. I'm Mark Webster, and this week's guest is Michelle Moyer with the Shine Women's Center in West Hazelton, Pennsylvania, a ministry offering compassionate pregnancy services and solutions in the Hazelton area.
We just celebrated 10 years. CareNet, they're pro-life, and so they have people who open up resource centers in different communities and different towns. And so we opened this up about 10 years ago to support the town of Hazelton for women and young girls that are faced with unplanned pregnancies. They come to this center. So that's how it was founded, because Hazelton's kind of a rougher area. So there's a lot of young girls and they're pregnant. They don't know what to do. There's nowhere to go. The closest facility to go to would be in Wilkes-Barre, and that's actually Planned Parenthood. On their choices for abortion, but never really given any other options. And so what we do is we give the girls all the options. We show them what the dangers are. We don't push anybody. We just want to educate them so they can make the best decision for them. We are pro-life. We're nonprofit. We are Christian. But again, we just love the girls. We're not about pushing our agenda. We're just about loving the girls, helping to make the right decisions for them. And when they, if they choose life, we support them. We give them educational classes on how to be parents. They earn these points, and then they use it in a baby boutique to buy items for their baby. Anything from, diapers, formula, to clothing, to cribs. We set them up with whatever they need to have the baby. We offer free sonograms, free pregnancy tests, free counseling, mentoring and coaching, and just walk alongside of the girls. If they decide to choose life, if they decide not to choose life, we encourage them to still come back. We have a class that we can help them to go through to get the healing that they need from the abortion, the emotional healing that they might need.
That last one you mentioned, we've spoken to some other pregnancy care centers, and that's a big one these days. Women who've been through an abortion, and just coping with that is really difficult.
Yeah, we walk them through that process. It really is traumatic. It's a traumatic experience. They don't process that when they're doing it because it's just the only solution they can see. And so later then they deal with, well, will I ever be able to have a baby? Is God mad at me? And so we just really walk them through the healing process that we receive ourselves through Jesus Christ. That's what we do with them. It's helpful because a lot of times the girls who end up like that, they get pregnant again and they face the same, because they do tend to repeat that behavior. So this time they receive Christ, they get healing, and then maybe if they get faced with it again, they'll choose a different route. Do we have a lot of girls that come afterwards? No, we do not. We are trying to put together a process maybe to try to connect, but a lot of times when the girls choose that, they don't want to connect with us. They're embarrassed. They feel ashamed.
Mm-hmm. Running down the list of the services you offer, it's support for men as well, and they seem to be kind of a missing link in this process.
Yeah, because they can take the parenting courses as well. We have men that would potentially mentor them if they want to be mentored. We also try to connect if they want more local support. We have a list of all the churches, and we try to find out where they live, and if they want to get connected, we can connect them to support groups within the churches, because the churches often have support groups within them, like men's groups and things like that. So they have Celebrate Recovery, which is addiction recovery. So we try to plug them into that as well, because at the end of the day, that's what they need. They need a support system, preferably a Christian support system. So we connect with local churches too. We have a liaison from each church in the area, and then that would be how we would connect them. Do we see a lot of men wanting mentorship? No, but we do see a lot of men wanting the parenting classes. So along with the mom.
Your husband's a pastor, I believe.
Yeah, we're both pastors at a local church.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does your church work hand in glove then with the center then?
Well, if they're in our area, we're in a little town called McAdoo, so we respect that there are churches that are closer to people. So we really don't just gear them all towards us, because Hazelton is about 60% Hispanic. So we really have to gear a lot of these girls to Hispanic churches. And so most of them, we're sending them to that type of church. Some of them are coming from further away areas. So it's really about who do we have a partnership with in the church that would be in their area. And that's where we do. So we just look where they live, see if we have any partnerships there, and then we connect them to that church.
I know New York's governor has been openly hostile to pregnancy care centers, and Josh Shapiro, who once was an abortion center S-Corp, not exactly a friend of the pro-life cause either. What's the climate from your viewpoint in PA these days for centers like yours?
Honestly, we have not had any opposition. I think it's really about the way that you approach what you are, because really at the end of the day, yes, we're pro-life, but we care about the people, not the decision as much as, well, if you got to choose life. Well, you got to choose Jesus Christ, and then we'll flow from that. You know what I mean? Because listen, if they go and have a baby, they're going to have to raise a baby without help from Christ, and of course help from the local community. A lot of these girls won't make it. So I just think it's really about what are you trying to tell people that you are. And we tell people we help them with unplanned pregnancies, make the best choice and educate them for them. And that's how we approach it. We don't approach it from that standpoint because people will get hostile. We all know what we believe. We don't have to push that. We just push the love and the partnership and the no judgment zone. I'm not going to judge you. I'm still going to be here for you. And I think it's a lot of that.
It's very Christ-like. Think about the woman who was going to be stoned. Christ kind of took that same approach with her.
Yeah, I do think that's important. And that's what we're trying to communicate to people. Look, we're not going to judge you. We just want to love you. And we do. I mean, girls will flat out say, I'm choosing abortion. And we'll say, well, can we pray with you? And we're here for you. After you go through the procedure, come back. Kind of like that. It really is the church's responsibility to get behind these kind of things and support people. It's not the government's job really to be doing that. It should be us that are doing that. So that's what we're doing.
That's Michelle Moyer with the Shine Women's Center in West Hazleton, Pennsylvania, a ministry offering compassionate pregnancy services and solutions in the Hazleton area. Please join us again next time as we search for your home, your town, your hero. It's Hometown Heroes on Family Life.
Love those Hometown Heroes. Thank you, Mark. It comes your way every Tuesday during the Noon Report or online anytime at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and FamilyLife.org.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. We've got some rain in our forecast for this afternoon and tonight as dual areas of low pressure approach. Temperatures initially marginally cold enough to support a little sleep, but this is mainly a rain event. Toward the end of the event, colder air will seep back in and the rain will end as a bit of snow. Our call for this afternoon, cloudy, with rain overspreading a good part of the area, starting as sleet in spots, high temps mid-30s to the mid-40s. Off and on rain tonight, flipping to some wet snow late, low temps 30s. Tomorrow, cloudy, a bit of morning snow or some drizzle, high temps 30s to low 40s. Some sunshine on Thursday, relatively mild. High temperatures Thursday in the 40s.
Thank you, Kevin. Finally at noon, it's a debate as old as the holiday itself. When to take down the Christmas tree. Bree Tennis says today would be a good day.
Traditionally, that Tannenbaum and all the holiday decorations should come down today, January 6th. The day of Epiphany, as it's the end to the 12 days of Christmas. Although no tree police will knock on your door and make you do it, but there are superstitions about leaving that tree up past today. Some believe it's bad luck and will bring last year's trouble into the new year. Superstition or not, who needs that? I'm Bree Tennis.
Yeah, it's true, Bree. I'm still going to wait till Saturday, though, to take down my tree. And that's our world, the world we live in. Tuesday, January 6th. I'm Bob Price. Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.